Hey guys, welcome to the What I'm Working On video. Now, this isn't going to be a long video like the one in December. Instead, I thought I'll do it in parts. So basically, you'll have videos throughout the week. So say one today, one Wednesday, and one on Friday. If you're a Patreon, you'll get a video every day. So, okay, let's get started. Okay, so one of my favorite things about pro wrestling from the late 90s all the way to the mid 2000s was the fact that there was different wrestling games on different platforms. I absolutely loved 2003 being one of my favorite years in life, I think, when WrestleMania 19 came out, and I was excited and brought it home and then was playing that, but also knew that Raw 2 was coming out a few weeks later, and that would delve right into summer, and then me and my boys were going to play that throughout the summer, and then in October Here Comes the Pain would come out, and all would be completely different styles of play, different gameplay mechanics, different types of entrances, different season modes, different everything, different attires even. And that's something I really miss with sort of the uniform one game per year. I prefer Smackdown being a PlayStation and now maybe PC centric game, and Xbox and Nintendo getting something completely different. Not that I personally would probably buy them now, just because I'm not necessarily the demographic who gets wrestling games because of the current day roster. However, I do think there's value there in my experience of how it felt when I was super into wrestling, that you'd get a new game, a different game 3 times a year instead. With that said, let's talk about one of my favorite games that has just finished getting a definitive edition. That's Day of Reckoning 2. Let's take a look. Okay. Before we start with what's in the definitive edition of Day of Reckoning 2, let's take a look at some of the things that are in the earlier pre-release builds of the game. Now, the first visual difference for this build, which is dated April 2005, is quite apparent. When you start a match, in every single arena, the character shaders are not finished. So as you can see here, the characters end up looking like this, without any sort of shine, gloss, or any of the lighting features or textures on them, and just the bare bones wrestler textures. And while this won't be in the definitive edition for obvious reasons, I still thought it was a cool feature to highlight and show off. So in the first build of this game, Crispin Wine did not have his blue for real attire that he does in the final build. He in fact still carries over his red attire from Day of Reckoning 1. This was used as character slot 1 and dummied out all the other characters that were listed on the roster but not yet present in the game. What that means is basically when you selected a character, say for example Batista, who was not in that build, it would then come out with Batista's entrance motion but Chris Benoit's model. Now if we go a little further along, we get a build that is marked May 2005. And the Crispin Wine model is still available on the disc, however his default slot is now the blue for real attire. But the older model, which I was talking about, is now fully accessible with the proper shaders. And I really struggled whether to include this on the definitive edition of Day of Reckoning 2 or not. Although I did decide in the end to make this an optional attire. So basically you can pick whether you want the blue for real attire or if you want the red Wolverine slashes all over the tights. Just because, it's better to actually have it accessible rather than say, only a few people will want it, so let's not use it at all. I think that's the best way. Let me know in the comments. Okay, enough of Benoit. I know what you guys want to talk about. What remains of Luther Reigns? Well, not much actually. Now, I was a big fan of Luther Reigns back in 2004. I thought he, out of all the big men that they signed, had the most upside because he could actually talk and had personality, unlike some of the other people that were signed and were just blank body guys. Luther Reigns, unfortunately, is absolutely not in this game anywhere to be seen other than the movesets and listed as a character on the roster. Much like in Smackdown vs. Raw 2006, he has a moveset. I don't think he has an entrance in 2006. In the earliest build of Day of Reckoning, there is a motion that is unfinished, an entrance motion for Luther Reigns. But outside of that, no model exists. Again, Chris Benoit is just the placeholder for him and many other characters. This also bleeds into the build that IGN and others got a little later on in the summer of 2005. The same cannot be said for Maven, who does appear in Day of Reckoning 2 with a full entrance motion, moveset, and character model completed. He was likely removed from the game due to the fact that he was unfortunately released around the time of release. His model does not exist in the retail version. It was actually dummied out by John Cena, who replaced Crispin Wine as the quote-unquote main star of that game as it went into full production. As I said before, Day of Reckoning 2 was based heavily on Day of Reckoning 1. It was literally built on it, where Crispin Wine was the main character for all of the game's development, and then later on, John Cena became the character that dummied out anyone else they sort of made or just slots they had empty. And here is Maven in the actual game. Now, obviously, I can't play the music due to YouTube restrictions. However, in the definitive edition, he has got the music, the Mercy Drive song. However, obviously, I have also only just figured out how to import movies, so I've just also, I think it was Saturday this week, I put the Titantron in as well, so now he's complete, which is absolutely awesome. I love this model, and yes, this is the only time ever we see his heel entrance motion, which is also in the definitive edition of Day of Reckoning 2, obviously. But that's not even the best part. You can now put all of Maven's opponents away with his devastating finisher, the roll-up. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, I'm not. That is his finish in the game. I mean, I loved Maven. I thought he had such tremendous upside from the second he won Tough Enough, and he just needed to be given a good finishing move, and he had all the tools. And he worked really hard. I really, really liked Maven. I never got Chris Nowinski. I understood why people liked him, but Maven just had that natural charisma about him that I thought really, really, he just had it. And if capitalized on, he could have done so much more than what ultimately was given to him. However, now you can make Maven... Well, you can't make Maven world champion in this game, but you might be able to in another game coming soon. But also, at least now you can play with Maven to your heart's content. That sounds weird. Let's move on. Another big omission is Christian, or rather Christian's logos on his tights. When the game was released, Christian did appear in the game with his blue attire minus his logos. And this also bled into Smackdown vs. Raw 2006, where the same thing happened. Likely there was some licensing issues over the Christian logo, which WWE and Ukes had the issue with getting and obtaining. So if you look in subsequent Smackdown vs. Raw games when Christian came back, the logo was completely different. Not to worry though, because in the definitive edition of Day of Reckoning 2, Christian is back with both his logos on his tights as well as his render. And it looks absolutely great and much better than the blank slate that he had. And lastly, one of my favorite things to put back in, Hulk Hogan. Well, Hulk Hogan is in the game, yes, but when his model was shown off to Hulk Hogan's team, Hulk Hogan did not have his bandana during a match. Instead, the model had no bandana, just like in real life, and his receding hairline. Unfortunately, Hulk Hogan's team did not like that and wanted his bandana added when he was wrestling a match. Now, this didn't just extend to Day of Reckoning 2. This is more than likely why the Legend Hogan in Smackdown vs. Raw 2006 also has a bandana permanently attached to his skull, rather than takes it off and wrestles how he actually wrestled in real life back then. Now, I do remember a screenshot of this actually leaking out so many years ago, where people were wondering why Hogan was still wearing the bandana, if that was an early shot that was changed. But no, it was actually a complete model change for the head. So yeah, that's why. But luckily it is back in for the definitive edition of Day of Reckoning 2. And to be honest, I think it looks much better. Okay, well, let's recap. We have extra motions and movesets for Luther Reigns. We have Maven with his full entrance motion, with his full moveset, Titantron, and music. We have the original Hulk Hogan model without the bandana when he wrestles during the match. We have Christian with his correct logos in both his model and his render. And we have a second optional attire for Chris Benoit. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of content for what normally is a definitive edition, but I think that this is sort of a complete Day of Reckoning 2 package. This is everything that was promised, and I don't really think I could add much more to that, to the base game, without actually heavily modding it. So hopefully I think that some people will enjoy that, and I think, you know, being able to play with all that stuff on an actual GameCube or an actual Wii or on the Dolphin emulator, which is fantastic if you use it, is a great thing. And I think Dead Reckoning 2 is a phenomenal game. I've actually done quite a lengthy video on Dead Reckoning 2, which will be coming out a little later this year. And tell me if you guys like these shorter videos spread out through the week instead of the long documentaries. They're not going away. I'm just saying I thought I'd film smaller stuff on sort of a weekly basis just because of what's happening in the world right now, and just trying to give people something to watch to take their mind off things. So if you did like this, please let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and be notified every time I upload a video. If you can support me on Patreon, please do at patreon.com/ScottJay. And until next time, guys, take care.